Whoa, Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. SriSriRadhaRasbihari ki jai. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narotamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatittama shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing reading from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 66. And we're going to recite text number 3 responsibly. It has a very short purport. Then I'm going to read ahead until text number 8. It happens to be split over 2 pages, so. Dutam cha prahinonmanda Krishnaya vyaktavartmane Dvarakayang yata bhalo Ripo bala krito buddha Dutam cha prahinonmanda Krishnaya vyaktavartmane Dvarakayang yata bhalo Nripo bala krito buddha Dutang cha prahinonmanda Krishnaya vyaktavartmane Dvarakayang yata bhalo Nripo bala krito buddha. Please chant. Vaishnavis. Krito Bunaha. So, synonyms. Dutam, a messenger. Cha, and. Prahinot, he sent. Mandaha, slow-witted. Krishnaya, to Lord Krishna. Avyakta, inscrutable. Bhartmane, whose path. Dwarakayam, at Dwaraka. Yata, as. Balaha, a boy. Nripaha, king. Bala, by children. Kritaha, made. Abudhaha, unintelligent. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Thus, slow-witted King Paundraka sent a messenger to the inscrutable Lord Krishna at Dwaraka. Paundraka was acting just like an unintelligent child, whom other children are pretending is a king. Please repeat. Thus, slow-witted King Paundraka sent a messenger to the inscrutable Lord Krishna at Dwaraka. Paundraka was acting just like an unintelligent child, whom other children are pretending is a king. Srila Prabhupada's brief purport. According to Srila Vishnu, this is a point I should make, that we're in the 66th chapter of the 10th canto. Srila Prabhupada translated up until the 13th chapter. So we should always remember that. Not that we denigrate Prabhupada's disciples who continued the translation to finish up to the 12th canto. No. These are my very, very dear God brothers. I know the three principals. Dravida Prabhu was the English editor. Gopi Purandana Prabhu was the chief Sanskrit translator. And Hridananda Maharaj oversaw the project, and he also helped with the Sanskrit translation. So they're all wonderful Vaishnavas. Know them very well. We do not denigrate their translation work, and as you see, they refer mostly to predecessor meaning before Prabhupada, and also to Prabhupada's Krishna book, which was already complete at the time. So if you go through from the 14th chapter all the way till the end of the 19th chapter of the 12th canto, you'll find that they are constantly referring to Vaishnava predecessors. So we don't denigrate their translation work and commentary in any way. So commentary of the God Brothers. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, the reason Shukadev Goswami here mentions for the second time that Paundraka sent a message to Lord Krishna is that the great sage is astonished at Paundraka's extreme foolishness. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshtarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unvilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Shapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatan Batam Tang Sajivam Shadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kopaturubhya Shah Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're here hearing about King Paundraka and his attitude towards Krishna. It's mentioned several times here that he was foolish. So how does a foolish person become king? Huh? Do we have any modern day examples of that? I would say practically anywhere you look in the world, some foolish person has taken the top administrative post. Why foolish? We know from history that many of these demons who opposed the Lord, they were materially very intelligent. Ravana was extremely materially intelligent. Kamsa was not a man in the street type of fool. But foolishness herein refers to one's attitude towards Krishna. Because only a foolish person would oppose the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only a fool would oppose the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by this time, it's already been established. Krishna has established his supremacy over and over and over again. Beginning with the demons that he killed in Vrindavan. Kamsa was regularly sending demons, even after he was told by Mahamaya, when he thought this was the 8th child that he tried to kill. He said, "You fool, the 8th child that's going to kill you is already born somewhere else." So Kamsa already knew, but still he was such a fool. He was constantly trying to kill Krishna, which is, even the common person should know that no living entity can be killed. This is the strict message of the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Never was there a time when I did not exist, Krishna speaking to Arjuna, nor you, nor any of these kings, which by extension means any of us. We cannot be killed. So Kamsa was such a fool, he was trying to kill that person who definitely cannot be killed. Krishna says, "Ajopi-san avayatma, utanam isharopi-san." Although I'm unborn, you see, unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, still I appear, and I'm the Lord of all living entities. So the point is, this foolish designation, this designation of Paundraka as a fool, is not about his material intelligence. Today, still, there are so many people who are celebrated as being intelligent. But intelligence nowadays has been, what is the word I'm looking for? It's been brought down to the level of just having good memory. Doesn't matter what you've memorized, as long as you can remember something and repeat verbatim, you're considered intelligent. Nobody bothers to find out if the source of your knowledge was accurate. So many people go to school, and going to school nowadays, regurgitate whatever they teach you. They don't really want you to think. Thinking is not allowed, actually. Whatever the teacher tells you, you memorize it, regurgitate it, bas, you're a scholar. No thinking allowed. And so they're shocked. They're shocked when you put that in their face. The atheists, like Paundraka, they like to bewilder people. You believe in God, right? Supreme being, creator of everything, but where did he come from? And a neophyte spiritualist, they can't answer that. Oh, okay, maybe you're right. Where did God come from? Fool, God himself says, I am unborn. My body never deteriorates. It's transcendental. But so as we progress in Bhakti Yoga, this should be fixed in the mind. So when you meet an atheist who throws that at you, ask them, okay, so what do you believe? Where did everything come from? And generally they fall into the camp of Big Bang. There was a singularity that exploded, and from that everything has come. So then you ask them, where did the singularity come from? They don't even stop to think like that. They like to put down the religionists that you believe in a God, but where did that God come from? So where did your singularity come from? Just a simple thing like that, they can't understand. They're baffled. They're like shocked that you even dare to ask them that. Because they don't have an answer. See? They don't believe in God because God is the source of everything. Now what is his source? Now they think they've baffled you. But they believe in a singularity. Where did that come from? See? So don't be fooled by so-called scholarship. Anybody like Paundraka who does not accept Krishna's supremacy is a fool. And you can tell them that to their face. Prabhupada challenge us to do that. When you meet these foolish so-called scientists, challenge them to their face. Challenge them. Because they don't have any. Ultimately, they have no proof of anything. They have no proof. So even if you give them okay, you can't answer where the singularity came from, but just intelligently, there was a Big Bang. And so many things that's called effluent, what comes out, effluent. So we're spread all over everywhere. We all have, for example, firecrackers, maybe a stick of dynamite, some explosion, things fly everywhere, and then they fall and they settle, and that's it. Bust, nothing else happens. But by their theory, things flew all over everywhere, and some or other they combined to form planets and then living creatures, and fantasy. Fantasy. It didn't happen. So to be firmly in the Bhakti Yoga camp, you have to be fixed in this understanding. It did not happen. All that stuff that your science teacher stuffed down your throat while you're in school, it's not a fact. It's not a fact. It's just speculation on their part. Because they see, yes, and we all experience, it's not difficult to see, that the universe is expanding. So from their teeny brains, if there is expansion, then there must have been some kind of explosion to put all that matter out there that keeps expanding. That's their simplistic way of seeing it. But we know that the Mahavishnu is lying down, and from his breathing, everything comes out in seed form. And then they continue to expand, expand, expand. They're debating, the scientists, what's the end? What's going to happen? Obviously, it can't keep expanding forever. Is it going to explode again or something? But we know, for one duration of one breath of Mahavishnu, everything that comes out expands, expands, and then when he inhales, they again contract and come in. Very simple. Because we're doing that same process moment to moment. We're breathing, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. So we understand this is not something fantastic. Yes, the result is fantastic. Our breathing, we spread COVID when we breathe. When Mahavishnu breathes, the universes come out. And then he enters again as the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, fills up half of the sphere with his own perspiration. So yes, this is fantastic. But the foolish persons, so-called scientifically trained, they cannot understand this. So even a child can understand what's really going on by hearing from the right source. One time, many years ago, our BBT associates in Europe, they made a little video. One devotee child was dressed up like a newspaper boy. He was on the street going, extra, extra, read all about it. So one businessman stopped. What is the headline? He showed him. The headline said, death rate is 100%. So the guy was shocked. And then he said, oh, this is news? And then the little boy said, yes, to some people. To some people, it's news that the death rate is 100%. Because if they really understood that, they wouldn't waste their time doing so many foolish activities. The death rate is 100%. You will not escape. Ani ani bhutani gachanti yamalayam. Day after day, so many living entities are going to the court of Yamaraj. Gachanti yamalayam. Shesha stavara ichanti kim asya. What is more wonderful than that? That those who stay, Shesha stavara ichanti. They just continue with their material desires. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, I want to go here, I want to go there, this, that, that, that. Never, they don't stop to think. They don't stop to think. So being a bhakti yogi means, first of all, being thoughtful. That's why it's referred to as buddhi yoga. One has to be thoughtful. First of all, for your own benefit. We're not just running around telling other people how to think and what to do. No, we have to be trained first. We have to be trained. It has become popular within our society and elsewhere. Other people also say the same thing. They say, Prabhu, don't judge. Don't judge. No, what they're actually trying to say is don't misjudge. Because you can't stop judging even for a second. At every moment, your intelligence is judging the situation. Is this person a friend or foe? Is it whether what they said is going to be? It's always judging, judging. You cannot stop judging. To be alive means to always be judging everything that's going on around you. But one needs to be trained how not to misjudge. That's where we're trained. That's why you don't take just anybody and put them on the Supreme Court. They have to be trained in the legal system and how to think properly and come to the right conclusion. Our Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so expert at that. Any case came before him, within 5 minutes it was done. Things that other magistrates would take days and days to ponder over. Why? Because he had perfect buddhi, perfect intelligence. So all of you, we have a lot of trainees here. You're here to be trained how to think properly. How to think properly. Indriyani paranya hu indriya paragma. Manasastu parabu yo bude paratasusa. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Right? I can sit here for years and this podium will never attack me. But I may decide I don't like it anymore, I may take it apart. The working senses are superior to dull matter. And above the senses is the mind. The mind is always sankalpa vikalpa, accepting and rejecting ideas for sense gratification, the untrained mind. And above the mind is the intelligence, buddhi. Buddhi needs to be trained what to accept, what to reject, what to do, what not to do. One who presents himself, herself, before a bona fide spiritual master to be thus trained is a devotee. One who does not want to be trained is a demon. And Krishna says that clearly in the 16th chapter. Pravritim cha nivritim cha jananas buddhi asura. Jana navidu asura. Those who are asuric, they don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done in any situation. They just go with the flow, whatever I feel like doing. And naturally you wind up in disastrous situation. So remember that. We're here to be trained. Now Paundraka, before I go on, is a demon mentioned here in the pages of Bhagavatam, but not big time demon. We look around, we don't see any paintings of or statues of Paundraka. We see so many paintings of Krishna killing Putana, killing Kamsa, where maybe in our Bhagavatam you may find one painting of Krishna with Paundraka, but nowhere else. Not such a big time demon. Nobody walks around all day thinking about Paundraka or what. So all right, so let's go on. We'll just read a few more verses. So text number 4. Dutastu dvarakam itya sabhayam architang prabhum krishnam kamalapatraksham raja sandesham abravit. Arriving in Dwarka, the messenger found lotus-eyed Krishna in his royal assembly and relayed the king's message to that Almighty Lord. Text 5. Vasudevo vatirnoham eka eva nachaparaha bhutanam anukampartam tangnu mityadipam tyaja. On Paundraka's behalf, the messenger said, I am the one and only Lord Vasudeva, and there is no other. It is I who have descended to this world to show mercy to the living beings. Therefore, give up your false name. Our God Brothers purport, inspired by Goddess Saraswati, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the real import of these 2 verses. Quote, I am not Vasudeva incarnate, but rather you alone, and no one else are Vasudeva. Since you have descended to show mercy to the living beings, please make me give up my false designation, which is like that of an oyster claiming to be silver. End of quote. The Supreme Lord will certainly comply with this request. Text number 6. Yani tam asmacha anani modjad bibarshita twataha chaktaihi mam tong sharanam nacheddehi mamahavam. Forgive me, even with reading glasses, I'm having a hard time seeing. I usually take my computer to classes so I can make this text as big as possible. Translation. O Satvata, give up my personal symbols, which out of foolishness you now carry, and come to me for shelter. If you do not, then you must give me battle. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti again interprets Paundraka's words according to the inspiration of Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Thus, they may be understood to mean, quote, out of foolishness, I have assumed an imitation conch shell, disc, lotus, and club, and you are maintaining these by allowing me to use them. You have not yet subdued me and gotten rid of these imitation symbols. Therefore, please mercifully come and liberate me by forcing me to give them up. Give me battle and grant me liberation by killing me. End of quote. Text number 7. Shishukovacha Kattanang tadupa karnya ponjakasya pamerasaha Ugrasena Rayaksabhya Uchchaikaya Jahasustara. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, King Ugrasena and the other members of the assembly laughed loudly when they heard this vain boasting of unintelligent Paundraka. So I'll read one more 8 and then say a few more words. What time should the class end? What time does it normally end? 9? 9:10. Okay, good, good. Because I can go on talking forever. Okay, text number 8. Uvacha dutam bhagavan parihasa katam anu utsrakshe mudachinani yaistang evam vikattase. Translation. The personality of Godhead, after enjoying the jokes of the assembly, told the messenger to relay a message to his master. Quote, "You fool, I will indeed let loose the weapons you boast of in this way." Purport. The Sanskrit word utsakshe means, quote, "I will hurl, throw, let loose, abandon," and so on, end of quote. Foolish Paundraka demanded that Lord Krishna give up his powerful weapons such as the disc and the club. And here the Lord replies, Utsakshe muda chinani. Quote, "Yes, fool, I will indeed let loose these weapons when we meet on the battlefield." In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada nicely describes the scene as follows, quote, "When all the members of the royal assembly, including King Ugrasena, heard this message sent by Paundraka, they laughed very loudly for a considerable time. After enjoying the loud laughter of all the members of the assembly, Krishna replied to the messenger as follows, quote, "O messenger of Paundraka, you may carry my message to your master. He is a foolish rascal. I directly call him a rascal, and I refuse to follow his instructions. I shall never give up the symbols of Vasudeva, especially my disc. I shall use this disc to kill not only King Paundraka, but all his followers also. I shall destroy this Paundraka and his foolish associates who merely constitute a society of cheaters and the cheated." So Prabhupada used that phrase quite often, cheaters and the cheated. Because, as we were discussing earlier, the teachers, in ignorance, they're teaching others, so they're just cheaters. The example I use all the time is when I was a student, I was born in 1952. So we're talking about late 50s, early 60s. They used to teach in the science classes that there's no life at the bottom of the ocean. Literally, they would say that. I looked it up again just to make sure I wasn't imagining. But yes, back in the late 50s, early 60s, they taught in science classes there is no life at the bottom of the ocean because it's too dark, pressure is too great, temperature is too cold, like that. No life can exist there. This was a scientific understanding. Try to understand what kind of scientists we're dealing with. But later on in the 60s, when they were able to send submersibles down, and they saw, even in these volcanic fissures in the bottom of the ocean where there's hot gases bubbling up, there's life there. These tube worms and all kinds of life forms are there. So they had to change their so-called science. So our Sadhaputa Prabhu from BI, he used to say, to make us laugh, but it's a point. That's a point that we should take home. That the scientists, they all regularly come in and say, we used to think, but now we know. In other words, our knowledge has increased. But it's just the opposite. They used to know because they presented like knowledge, but now they think. And it will again change in the future. So don't take it so seriously because we've been brought up in this pseudo-scientific society, and for many of us, it's very difficult to break. Just like when the moon landing supposedly took place, quite a few of Prabhupada's disciples, they walked out because they couldn't accept that Prabhupada was saying that the moon landing didn't take place. They cannot go to the moon, he said. And later on, he said, even if they went, what did they accomplish? They brought back some dust, some rocks. You can find, suspiciously, they look like rocks from Arizona. So what is the use? They're simply wasting time, money, human energy. And that's because they're rascals. And that's why Krishna is openly calling Paundraka a rascal. And anybody who opposes God, God's supremacy, is a rascal. Now, we don't be too eager to go and call people rascals. We don't want to do that. We're not here to alienate others. We're here to, as Rupa Goswami says, yena kena prakarena, just somehow or other get them to become attached to some aspect of the Krishna consciousness movement. Either taking prasadam, which everybody can relate to, or hearing, chanting, dancing, coming and standing before the deities and looking at the deities. This is also beginning of devotion. We should never make fun or denigrate anybody who just comes apparently every day just to see the deities and they never stay for class. Or it's all right to stand and take the darshan of the Lord in any of his forms, deity forms. I have to admit, I cringe every time I hear on the news, because regularly here in America, they have now installed these idols of Ram in Ayodhya. Idol? What idol? What is an idol? Statue of Ram. What statue? Prabhupada never refers to the deities as idol or statue. Deity, Archa Vigraha. Archa Vigraha. So for those who are in the Bhakti camp, we don't like to hear the deity referred to as idol or statue or... No, Archa Vigraha. Archa Vishnu Shiladi. Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. Anyone who thinks of the deity as being made of stone or wood or metal, or thinks of a Vaishnava in terms of his socioeconomic status, or will not accept Saranamrit, water that has washed the feet of the Lord, they think it's just ordinary water. Such a person, Naraka, they have a hellish, Naraka Buddhi. They have hellish mentality. But even those with hellish mentalities can be liberated. Paundraka will be liberated coming up by the disc method. But in this age, you have the diorama back there. That's not the method that the devotees want to use. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva nasteva nas, gatiranyata. The Harinam process. The Harinam process. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none different from Lord Krishna himself. There's a nice verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that I recite every morning in front of Gauranitai. You may want to learn. It says, Jaya Gauradeya Krishna Swayam Bhagavan, Kripa Koredeya Prabhu Nija Paradan. It says, Jaya Gauradeya, you have a form, appeared in this form, golden form, Lord Chaitanya. But Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Jaya Gauradeya Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Don't forget, when you're dealing with Lord Chaitanya, he's none other than Krishna himself. Just a different complexion. Krishna Varnam Tusha, Krishna Sangam Pangasha Parshadam. Different complexion. But we, the Vaishnavas, we know, because even in other Vaishnava sections, but in the Brahma, they may not understand Lord Chaitanya perfectly. But in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, we understand Lord Chaitanya is Krishna Swayam Bhagavan himself. Kripa Kori Deya Prabhu, Nija, please give me shelter at your lotus feet. And that's what the Lord has come for. Yesterday we were celebrating Nityananda Shrayodasi. So in the Chaitanya Mangala, there is nice description of the first meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda in Bengal, Mayapur. So Lord Chaitanya is telling the devotees that Lord Nityananda has come. He's here in Navadvip. Go and find him. Go and find him. And in that description, it said that Lord Nityananda has come to give his mercy to those who are sick, those who are elderly, those who are incapacitated, sinful in so many ways. He just mercifully comes and gives them love of Godhead. So I am presenting myself as a candidate. Please, Lord Nityananda, give me love of Godhead. This is what we're here for. We're here. This life is so short. I'll be 72 in October. I was very fortunate to meet. I thought at the time he was Deva Amrita Das Brahmachari, but after we chatted, he said, no, I wasn't even initiated yet. So this is the power of Prabhupada's movement. Even non-initiates, uninitiated bhaktas can go in the street and deliver others. How? Give them Prabhupada's books. Give them the holy name. Give them some prasadam. You can immediately attract the attention of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda by doing that. Just follow instructions. Every day the administrators are asking, after the morning program, do some practical service. Either practical service in the temple, or you go out in the street. Take the Harinam party out. Harinam is very good. In the early days, we used to go out every day. Harinam is very good because two things. You have to identify yourself as a devotee. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends that one should identify with the devotees. Most of us were coming out of the non-devotee camp. Some of you are born in devotee families, that's okay. But most of us, we came out of non-devotee camp. So one has to get to the point of making that transition, of identifying with the devotees. Don't hide behind your jeans and t-shirt anymore. Put on, kurta, dhoti, nice tila. Go out and identify as a devotee. Don't be a closet devotee. Come out of the closet and tell the whole world, I am now trying to be a follower of Lord Chaitanya, follower of Srila Prabhupada. Huh? And when you go out on the Harinam party, the second thing is you're giving them all of the above. When you go out and distribute books, sometimes you're in plain clothes and you can't necessarily give them prasadam or the holy name. You just try to get them to buy the book, and then they will find everything out there. But when you go on Harinam, you dress like a devotee, so right away they know they're dealing with a Krishna conscious person. You're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. And generally, I don't know if you still do that, but when we go out, we used to always bring some prasadam to distribute. So you can do everything when you go out on the Harinam party. You can distribute the holy names, you can distribute prasadam, you can distribute philosophy, bring some books along on the Harinam, like that. So Harinam is extremely important for everyone, not just for the new devotees, but especially for the new devotees. Must go out. No excuses, I'm not feeling well. They said, no, go out on Harinam. Identify as a devotee. Give the devotional process to others. And that's very cleansing. When you do that on a regular basis, it cleanses the consciousness. And that's what we're here for. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Bhava Mahada Bhagnani Varpanam. To clean the consciousness, the mirror, the dirty mirror of the mind. So we can first of all see ourselves. We can see ourselves for what we really are. Jivera Swarupahoy. Krishna Nityadas. We are eternally servants of Krishna. And the more we come to that consciousness, the more we will want to give it to others. See, it's human tendency. Anything that you like, you want to share with others, right? So out there, people are sharing. I went to a nice restaurant, they tell everybody, they get on WhatsApp group and they tell everybody, or they hear a nice song, they want everybody to listen to that song, whatever. So every day we're hearing nice songs here. Every day we're hearing nice songs. We want to share them with others. Every day we're tasting nice prasadam. I was telling one devotee this morning that when Prabhupada started his League of Devotees, he wrote a manifest. How the devotees should conduct themselves. Rise early, take bath, go to Mangala arati. And in that manifest he wrote that the members of the society should take the Lord's morning milk sweets. The morning milk sweets offered to the deities are not meant just for sale to anybody who comes. It should be distributed to the devotees. Because that taste of burfi, pera, kheer, shrikand, all of these milk sweets, that's what makes us stop craving anything bad. You become attached to eating burfi, pera. Of course, when you get to my age, you have to be a little circumspect. Maybe take just a pinch. But when you're a young man with strong digestive power, eat burfi, pera. I hope the administrators are listening. You see, the problem in ISKCON now, one problem is that many of the administrators, they're already past the point of self-control. So now they're self-controlled. They eat just the right amount of prasadam. They're everything just under control. They forget what it was like when we first came. I joined at the age of 21. I used to eat so much, I don't want to tell you. So much prasadam. And even though the temples back then they didn't have as much Lakshmi as they have now, still they were able, following Prabhupada's footsteps. When Prabhupada had practically no money, he was feeding every day so many devotees, and personally cooking for them, rice, dal, sabji, chapatis. And he would encourage them, eat. And there was one devotee, if you read the Lilamrita, one devotee, his name was Tridish. He could eat 6, 8, 10 chapatis, and Prabhupada said, stop. So in the beginning, don't try to restrict the devotees from eating. Give them enough prasadam, first, seconds, thirds, fourths. Let them eat. So I used to eat so much. And I remember it was one Nityananda Trayodasi. I ate so much prasadam that day. I thought I was going to die. So I prayed to Lord Nityananda, my Lord, if you just let me get over this, let me survive, I will never overeat again. So everybody has to come at their own pace to the point of self-control. You cannot force somebody to be self-controlled. Don't restrict prasadam. Let the devotees eat. I mean, and it wasn't only on big festival days that we have elaborate prasadam. During the rest of the week, it was khichdi for breakfast with some ginger, some boiled chickpeas. And on Sunday feast, really nice prasadam. And on festival days, extremely nice prasadam. So as a brahmachari, and we're talking 73, 74, in New York, we were so lusty brahmacharis that we would, at the end of the Sunday feast, whatever was left under the guest plates, we would eat. Not the rice or the sabji, but half eaten samosa or a half a gulab jamun. So the temple president, Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, he wrote to Prabhupada. He told him what was happening. Because he would tell us, no, don't do that. And we would say, no, you don't know the philosophy. Prasadam cannot be contaminated. So he was stumped. He couldn't say no. That's the philosophy. Prasadam can never be contaminated. So he wrote to Prabhupada and he said, these brahmacharis are doing like that. So Prabhupada wrote back. He said, tell him to stop. Because Prabhupada knew we weren't doing it out of respect for prasadam. We were just lusty. But the point is, again, prasadam is the best friend of the neophyte devotee. So don't try artificially to be too self-controlled. Eat to your full satisfaction. But then, Prabhupada also said, if you eat like a horse, you have to work like a horse. Don't eat and then just sleep the rest of the day. That should not be allowed. If they eat seconds, thirds, fourths, fine. But then they have to work hard for Krishna. Prabhupada said, if you eat like a bird, work like a bird. But if you eat like a horse, work like a horse for Krishna. Which means whatever the administrators ask you to do, administrators, clean the temple, go out on Harinam, go out on book distribution, work hard for Krishna. No lazies or crazies. So, this wonderful philosophy we've been given, Srila Prabhupada, as you know, up to the last moment he was translating this literature. Like I said, he ended at the end of chapter 13. So from chapter 14 on, we're hearing translation and commentary from the God Brothers. But as we heard today, they're mostly referring Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or some other predecessor Acharya. They're referencing Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, which was already printed at that point. So we're very, very fortunate to be part of this wonderful International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Don't be baffled. This is the Prabhupada branch of the Gaudiya Math. Because sometimes I see devotees doing things that I know Prabhupada wouldn't like. And they say, well, but Gaudiya Math. I say, does the Gaudiya Math have a GBC? Why don't we follow that? The Gaudiya Math does not have a GBC. Why don't we follow that? Some devotees would like to do that. They would like to get rid of GBC, but we cannot. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to establish the GBC in his Gaudiya Math. And Srila Prabhupada, taking that from his Guru Maharaj, he established the GBC in ISKCON. So we're stuck. He cannot get rid of the GBC. So this is one unique facet of the Srila Prabhupada branch of the Gaudiya Math. And we are followers of Srila Prabhupada. So when, don't be confused, some other, spiritual line or some maths may do something different from ISKCON. That's okay. They can do what they want. We are following A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. That's who we're following. And other people can rationalize other things if they want, but we follow Prabhupada. Whatever Prabhupada says, we do. And we should take it seriously. Mukunda Maharaj told me, directly, he told me this story. Not story, he was there. When Prabhupada was ill, he was staying in Stinson Beach, California. And he decided he wasn't getting well. Northern California, the weather is not so good. It's always foggy and, wet. So Prabhupada said, I'm going to go back to India to regain my health. So before Prabhupada left, some disciples, they asked Mukunda Maharaj, because he was senior. I just saw him, by the way. I was in Australia recently, just last month. And although his health is not strong, he comes every morning to Mangala arati. He pays full dandavats. Takes a few minutes to get down and get up, but he does it. It's an indication for us. We should follow it. And Prabhupada did. I was there when Prabhupada would come. I was fortunate enough to see Prabhupada in New York, where I joined. In LA, I was part of that 2-month marathon of producing 17 volumes. So Prabhupada was there for a long time. So I saw Prabhupada every day. He would always pay full dandavat, in spite of his advanced age. Anyway, Mukunda Maharaj tells the story that when Prabhupada was going to go to India, the other God brothers, God sisters, they asked him, please go to Srila Prabhupada and ask him if he could have one of his God brothers come from India to lead us while he's there. So Mukunda Maharaj said, he told me, he said, I knew it was a bad idea. But because the devotees asked me to do it, I did it. So he went to Prabhupada's room and he said, Srila Prabhupada, some of the devotees have asked me to ask you, could you maybe send one of your God brothers to lead us while you're there? And you know what happened? It's there, and I'm not sure if this particular pastime is in the Lilamrita, but Mukunda Maharaj told me directly. We spent quite a few years working together. So anyway, he said, Prabhupada immediately started crying. Immediately started crying. And what did Prabhupada say? He didn't give some deep philosophy. He said, my Guru Maharaj was not an ordinary person. He saved me. Try to understand the message. You cannot replace your Guru Maharaj with somebody else. You cannot replace your Guru with somebody else. So those neophyte devotees, they didn't understand their good fortune of having come in contact with Srila Prabhupada. And he could not be replaced, even temporarily, with somebody else. And that's why Srila Prabhupada never invited any of his God brothers to come and preach in his ISKCON. And so that's another thing the administrators have to be very, very careful about. It's not that anybody can sit on the Vyasasana in an ISKCON temple. Prabhupada did not want that. So I'll end with this. It's not a story, it's something that actually happened. I happened to be in Zurich a few years back. So I come just in time for greeting. Zurich, Switzerland. Actually, just in time for the Bhagavatam class. So I come through the door, and sitting on the Vyasasana is this man, I would say maybe mid-30s, long black hair down to here, long beard down to here, and he's talking something. So I listen, and after the class, I asked the devotees to introduce me to this person. So they introduced me, and I asked him, what is your background? Who is your Guru Maharaj? So he said, he said, I grew up in Vrindavan, and when I was a boy, I met Prabhupada, and Prabhupada touched me on the head, and this and that, and he never joined ISKCON, not initiated in ISKCON, doesn't have an ISKCON guru. But he goes around ISKCON telling these stories about meeting Prabhupada and this and that, and foolish, or not is a strong word, not so thoughtful, younger leaders especially, in this case it was a young devotee who was the temple president, invited him to give class. So, as you know, the GBC are my God brothers, so I call up all the GBC. This was before internet and WhatsApp and all that. So I personally call them up. I said, what is this? Tell this young man to stop. Don't do this again. So they call him up. Explain to him, no, only ISKCON initiated like that. Followers of Prabhupada are allowed to give class here. Sitting on the ISKCON Vyasasana. After they told him not to do that, he was mad at me. But I didn't care, because I knew Prabhupada would not allow somebody like that to sit on the Vyasasana and give class. And here in India, especially, must be warned about this. Because naturally, coming up in India, you hear so many stories from your family members, and so many people are giving katha and this and that. So I always say, first question you should ask any of these katha speakers, who is your spiritual master? Who is his spiritual master? Most of them, they can't go back more than 2 or 3 steps. That's it, boss. But that's not our line. Our line is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Bhaktisiddhanta. Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. Like that. We can go all the way back. Lord Chaitanya all the way back to Krishna. So if somebody who does not have that kind of connection, we don't want to hear from them. And it's not, I'm saying that out of meanness. This is what Sanatana Goswami says. Al Vaishnava Mukord Girnam, Putam Harikatamritam. Shravanam Namakaitabhyam. Sarpochista Yatapaya. Just as milk touched by the lips of a serpent, it's milk. It still looks like, give me a drink. No. Any milk that's touched by the lips of a serpent, one should not take if it has become poison. So similarly, anybody who's speaking katha, but they're not coming in the Vaishnava line and not strictly following Vaishnava principles, one should not hear from them. One should not hear from them. And don't, yeah, of course, humbly, we excuse ourselves. We don't want to insult anybody. Humbly, we excuse ourselves. We don't allow them to speak from the Vyasa-san, and as far as possible, we try to avoid hearing from them. Why? We will become confused. And we've seen it happen repeatedly. Even Prabhupada was here. One of his disciples went to Radhakund and was associating with some Baba there. Then he came and had the audacity to ask Srila Prabhupada for permission to leave Prabhupada's movement and go take initiation from this Babaji. So Prabhupada said, yes, you have my blessings, go. And then when he left, Prabhupada said, what a snake. Doesn't understand what it means to take initiation. Prabhupada said he's a black snake for wanting to leave. And it's not out of pride. It's not that Prabhupada felt, now I have one less disciple and no, that was not it. Prabhupada was trying to save the rest of us. Take it seriously. When you take initiation, and that's why it's recommended, the prospective disciple should try to investigate the prospective guru for at least 6 months, and vice versa. Guru should not accept just anybody who comes forward. Should observe for at least 6 months that they're following nicely the principles, like that. And once that connection is made, it should not be broken. It should not be broken. It should be taken very, very seriously. So we were very fortunate to be accepted by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and by His grace and the blessings of so many of these beautiful deities that He's established all over the world. And I'm fortunate, I've traveled all over the world, seen many of them. Again, we come in front of the deities and beg for their mercy. So we remain attached to this wonderful Rama Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, follow the principles, qualified to go back to Godhead, and take as many as we can with us. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Maybe one question, if there's time. What time is it? Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 questions we can take. Yes, Prabhu, Brahmachari in the back, very enthusiastically, his hand went up.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, what is the difference between knowledge and intelligence in English, and in Sanskrit, what is the difference between jnana and buddhi?
Between jnana and buddhi. Well, buddhi is translated into English as intelligence. As we were discussing, above the senses is the mind, above the mind is intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. So spiritual mind and intelligence are always there. But when we're in the material atmosphere, the mind becomes covered, karmatmakam yena sharirabhanda. The mind becomes colored with material desires. And that material mind is what forces us to run after illusion, the illusory energy, try to satisfy our senses. But the intelligence, being above the mind, can be trained to start discriminating properly, to understand what should be done, what should not be done. Now, jnana is a different thing. Jnana means knowledge.
Hare Krishna.
And jnana is different types. There's jnana and then there's big jnana. Jnana means theoretical knowledge. The example I like to use is if you don't know how to bake a cake. Let's say a pineapple upside down cake. And now you decide you want to know. So you come to me, I've heard you know how to bake cake. I say, yes, yes. And I write down very diligently the recipe. So many grams of flour, so many grams of sugar, like that, and I write down everything, and I hand it to you. Now you have jnana. Theoretically, you can say you know how to make. But until you go in the kitchen and you assemble all those ingredients and put it in the oven so many degrees centigrade for so much time and then it comes out, until that point, you don't really know how to make a cake. So spiritual knowledge is like that. You can get Gyan from hopefully the right source, Srila Prabhupada, but you are meant to apply that in your life and then it becomes big Gyan, realized knowledge. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brahmachari in the back there and then you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I ask?
Okay. Since you have the mic,
Yeah,
I won't
here-
take it from you, but he was next. All right,
Here
go ahead.
In the Paundraka case, he was considered as a foolish person. So you gave example in the beginning, Ravanasura was very much intelligent. He was also have some intelligence. I was reading this Bhagavad-gita, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, in the materialistic activities, there is no need of any intelligence. Just because everything is depends on our past karma comes. So when people think somebody earning a lot of money, so they required intelligence?
Well, yeah, it's like everything we do. Yes and no. Yes, your karma is there based on. There's a nice verse in the 10th canto. Eka prasuyate jantu, eka esha praliyate, eka unabhunkte sukritam, eka esha chadushkritam. Says everyone is born alone and dies alone, and alone you have to enjoy or suffer the results of your karmic activities. So that aspect is there. But just to live in the world, to apply whatever you've been given by karma, you need some intelligence. You need some intelligence. But that is material intelligence. Prabhupada defines intelligence in the Bhagavad-gita as the power to discriminate between matter and spirit and to understand the source of both. That's real intelligence. So my point was that, yes, Ravana was materially intelligent, Paundraka was materially intelligent, but they're being called fools because they didn't have the spiritual intelligence. The intelligence to understand Krishna was the source of everything. He's the real Vasudeva, the real Vasudeva Saramiti, Samahatma. He is the real source of everything. But it takes many, many lifetimes to come to that conclusion if you follow the path of Gyan. If you take to bhakti, in no time you can start to realize that. Why? Because Krishna within the heart, he says, Tesha me benakam partam ahanga jnana jam tama. Nashayami. I, dwelling within the heart with the shining lamp of knowledge, will destroy the darkness of ignorance, because he's pleased by our activities in devotional service. So one who takes to the devotional path very quickly can come to the right conclusion. But somebody who is following the path of Gyan, many, many births, Bahunam Janmanamante, Yanavan Ma Prapajate. Okay?
Thank you.
Our brahmachari in the back there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for your very nice class, very helpful. In the initial part you told so nicely this, that judging is not a problem, misjudging is a problem, and Krishna is telling in Gita that pravrittim cha. So your duty is to learn, otherwise if you are not learning then you are demoniac. So thank you Prabhuji very much. Prabhuji, I had one, two questions. One was, Prabhuji, when you were telling about prasadam, so you were so openly telling that how I used to so much eat prasadam, and so once you overeat so much that you prayed for survival. So I was thinking that you are able to tell openly in front of everybody these kind of, your mistakes or things. So I was thinking, for me it is so difficult to tell even to some few people, what to talk of telling openly. So how is it that you are able to tell openly without feeling any? How we can come?
327. Prabhupada would recite over and over again. Who knows that verse? 327.
Prakrite kriyamana.
Yes. Prabhupada recited that verse over. Prakrite kriyamani guna sarvasha. Ahankara vimudat makartam. So if we continue to think of ourselves as the doer, that means we're still being bewildered by the modes of nature. So whatever was done in the past cannot be undone. So what's the use of hiding? You see, cannot be undone. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past, it sleeps forever. And trust no future, however pleasant. So our main focus should always be on right now. What am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? And doing it nicely for Krishna's satisfaction. And if we develop that mentality, then whatever happens, because we can see, even in the case of the Pandavas, pure devotees of the Lord, but one could say they made mistake, this mistake, that mistake. Actually, one should never say like that. The devotees of the Lord are always doing exactly what the Lord wants them to do. Sometimes people are bewildered by our own Prabhupada, that things were happening, didn't Prabhupada know? He's not omniscient. The pure devotees, they know what Krishna wants them to know, they act the way Krishna wants them to act. Therefore, everything the pure devotee does is above criticism. Materially, we try to criticize, because we are worthy of criticism. But a pure devotee is always above criticism. And the pure devotee is always doing at any moment exactly what they want to do. I'll give you one example, what Krishna wants them to do. Nabadi Mahatmya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he tells the story of when Yudhishthira wanted to perform the Rajasuri sacrifice. He sent his brothers, as you know, in different directions to conquer. Conquer means that all the subordinate kings had to accept him as king. They had to give some token tax. And if not, then there would be fight. So when Bhimasen got to modern-day Bengal, there was one powerful king there named Samudra Sen. He was also a great devotee of the Lord. But he's a Kshatriya. And he said, I'm not going to surrender to this Bhima. Who is this Bhima? I'm a Kshatriya. If they want me to bow down to Yudhishthira, they have to conquer me. So he decided to fight. He's a devotee. Bhima is a devotee. Two devotees are fighting each other. And the battle was going on. And Samudra Sen was about to come out on top. But Krishna didn't want that. He wanted Yudhishthira to be enthroned as the emperor of the world, which means his brothers had to be victorious wherever they went. What to do? So Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling the story. Krishna appeared in front of Samudra Sen. Krishna was not there physically at the time when the battle was going on, but in order to get the result he wanted, he appeared personally in front of Samudra Sen. And what would any devotee do? You see Krishna personally in front of you, he jumped off the chariot and bowed down. So Bhima said, he's decided to surrender. So Krishna is always in control. And the pure devotees, they always do what Krishna wants them to do. Even if from our angle of vision, it may seem like a mistake. So don't let your foolish mind ever tell you to criticize Srila Prabhupada in any way. He's a pure devotee. Everything that he did was exactly what Krishna wanted him to do. So there cannot be any criticism of a pure devotee. Okay?
Prabhuji, can I ask one more question?
Okay, one more.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning that we are following Srila Prabhupada and not Gaudiya Math.
We're following Prabhupada's branch of the Gaudiya Math.
Okay.
It's not that it's not Gaudiya Math. And the example I gave was Bhaktisiddhanta wanted Gaudiya Math to have a GBC instead of, promoting some acharya to be in charge of the Math. He wanted a governing body commission made up of senior devotees. He wanted his society to run that. They didn't do it. So should we follow that? You can't. You have to follow Prabhupada's branch of the Gaudiya Math, which has a GBC and has certain things that may be different from other branches. That's okay. Somebody feels better following some other branch that they can follow. But don't be inside Prabhupada's branch and try to bring in other things. That's not allowed. Prabhupada set things up the way he wanted it set up. We follow that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, in some situations where we are bringing small things, like I heard from one devotee, when they say Nitai Gaur Sitanath Premanande. So, one devotee told that this Sitanath was not there in our Srila Prabhupada's giving. Gaudiya Math, they sing like the Sitanath Premanande. So then another devotee was telling what is the problem. And also then we hear Srila Prabhupada in one instance said, don't make too much systems, too much formal organization things. Let the spirit be open. So then how to reconcile, Guruji, this?
Yeah, it means that you don't get on the case of a new person. Sometimes we're like that. Just because we've been practicing for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, as soon as we see somebody make a little mistake, maybe they took the gulab jamun with the left hand instead of the right. Hey! No, don't do that. Don't do that. Generally speaking, in every ISKCON temple, there's somebody who's in charge of bringing the new people along. You let that person do it. It's their service. That's their service, to gradually introduce the rules and regulations. But don't take it upon yourself that you now can correct this new guy because he did something wrong. No, that just makes a sour atmosphere. We forget when we didn't know. So on the point of this Gaudiya Math, I know it's a big subject, we could talk for a long time, but is it monolithic? Is the Gaudiya Math outside of ISKCON monolithic? I would say no. So you are presenting something you heard from one branch of the Gaudiya Math. Some other branch of the Gaudiya Math may not agree. So we do things Prabhupada's way. We are following Prabhupada's branch of the Gaudiya Math. And gradually over time, things become polluted. That's the nature of the world, like as Krishna says in the 4th chapter. Gradually over time, the science as it is was lost. Therefore, he had to reintroduce it by speaking Bhagavad-gita. So it's natural. We're in the material world, things deteriorate. But one thing, you were saying Prema Dwani, if you listen to Prabhupada saying the Prema Dwani praise, he says, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ki and Jai, not just Ki. But nowadays it's become a fashion. Everybody says Ganga Mai Ki. And then they wait for everybody else to say Jai. No, we're not cheerleaders. We're saying the Prema Dwani prayers out of reverence. And that includes the Jai part. So when I say Shri Shri Gornitai Ki Jai, I am saying Ki Jai to the deities. And you join in on the Jai part. Not just Ki, and then I wait for everybody else to say Jai. We're not cheerleaders. This is a deviation. You listen. We're so fortunate. We have recordings, so many audio recordings of Prabhupada, so many videos even of Prabhupada, and you've seen many times Prabhupada Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. He never said Ki and waited for everybody else to say Jai. So don't let these deviations creep in. Don't let these deviations creep in. But at the same time, we're not ready to smash somebody. Like, everybody, a lot of the devotees who lead the Mangala Arctic prayers, they say that Bhagavat Prasado. It's Prasada. But I didn't want to, I'm not the type to go, hey, Prasada, not Prasado. No, gradually, these mistakes will be corrected in time. So we're not in an international society for correcting each other. We're an international society for Krishna consciousness. And there's a way to execute that Krishna consciousness, which means in the beginning, don't be so eager to correct anybody. Krishna is Chaita Guru, and he knows exactly what this person needs to go forward. So somebody is generally assigned to help the new person to go forward, and everybody else should stay out of the picture. Let that Bhakta leader or Bhaktin leader, let them do the correcting. It's not an easy job. It's a very, very difficult service. One of my godbrothers, some of you may know or may not know, Hansarupa Prabhu. He was the person in charge of constructing Prabhupada's, yes, in Vrindavan. And he's had so many other. Right now he's the temple president in New York. So I sat down with him the one day, because we know each other since we joined almost exactly the same day. So I sat down with him, and at one point he was the Bhakta leader at the famous 55th Street, proper skyscraper. Hundreds of brahmacharis that he had to take care of. So later on, many years later, I asked him, how do you do that? To be in charge of so many new people and all their mistakes and misconceptions. And he said, no, you have to approach it very personally. You have to approach it everybody's different. So you see, when a new person comes, they have so many knots tied in the head. And you have to very carefully untie every knot that's in the head. It's a very, very serious and important seva. So nobody else should interfere. If somebody is designated as the Bhakta leader, Bhaktin leader, let them do their job. Let them do it. Don't be so eager to interfere and tell this person, do this, don't do that. That sets up a very sour atmosphere. Famous example of that is Giriraj Maharaj. He tells the story himself. That when Kushakrata Prabhu, our dear departed godbrother, who famous for translating so many Goswami literature. When he first joined in Boston, he was such an avadut. He would just lie down, in those brownstone buildings. You have an outer door because it's winter, cold climate. There's an outer door, then you enter into a vestibule, then there's an inner door, and then you enter the building properly. So outside door, little vestibule, and inside door, and then you go in. He was such an avadut, he would just collapse in between the inside and outside doors and just take a nap. He would do all kinds of crazy things like that. So they wrote to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada told them, be tolerant. And we see what happened. By being tolerant, he became a really, really, really nice devotee. So don't be so eager to correct each other and get on somebody's case. And this is Kali at work. The Christian consciousness movement can only be stopped internally. No external force can stop us. Prabhupada said that repeatedly. The International Society for Christian Consciousness is coming from Lord Chaitanya. It cannot be stopped by any external force. Only internal dissent can break it apart. So that's where Kali tries to come in. Hey, you see that guy is doing like this, or tries to get you to fight with each other. So the Goswamis have set the example. As far as possible, don't hear anything negative about anybody. Another Vaishnava. Don't hear anything. Somebody wants to tell you, I want to tell you. No, I don't have any time. I'm sorry. I got my seva to do. Try as far as possible. Don't hear negative things about other devotees. If it's your job as an administrator, yes, you have to listen and try to do something about it. But if it's not your job, why do you want to hear? Go chant, go hear, go out and distribute books, do something positive. Don't sit around and hear negative things about, because it contaminates the consciousness. Now you develop, this kind of attitude towards a person. We don't need that. Time is short. Kali Yuga means 70, 80, 90 years maximum. Right now I live in New Dwarka, where we have the oldest Prabhupada disciple. Not from initiation. Actually, I was initiated before him. Amala Bhakta Swami. He's 92 years old. We'll be 92 in October. We're both born in October. So I'll be 72, will be 92. 20 years older. But I joined in 73, got my first initiation in 74, second in 76 at the Mayapur Festival in Prabhupada's quarters. He got his first initiation in 76. So by initiation, I'm senior. But because he's a sannyasi, this is how you determine who's seniority. First is by initiation. Second, by age. By varna, by ashram. And then last, number 5, by spiritual advancement, which you can't always see. You can't tell that this guy is less advanced than that guy, or you cannot see that. It's not that when you become highly advanced, all of a sudden you have a halo over your head and angels are following and playing, No. Just like Prabhupada's own case. His godbrothers thought he was very nice Baba, nice devotee, intelligent, like that. But they didn't necessarily think he was a pure devotee. So you can't always tell. Sometimes, as they say, too much association clouds the brain. Every day you're seeing somebody next to you, you're not thinking this guy is necessarily so advanced. So time is short. Don't waste time getting on each other's case and trying to figure out where somebody else is coming from. Figure out where you're coming from, or should be coming from. You've taken vows, keep those vows. Those who are being trained, take it very seriously. When your day comes to take the vows in front of the Guru, Deities, fire, other Vaishnavas, take it very seriously. And if Prabhupada said, if you could just do that, even if you never do anything big in this movement, if you maintain your vows and you chant 16 rounds every day, you're going to go back to Godhead. Bas, Prabhupada guarantees. So just do that. So that's your primary point of concentration. Concentrate on becoming qualified to take the vows, taking the vows, and following the vows. And we have so many brahmacharis here. You follow. Your job is to set a proper example for those coming behind you. And you can only do that if you follow those who went ahead of you. Good followers make good leaders. If you never become a good follower, you're not going to be a good leader. If you don't become a good brahmachari, you'll never become a good grihasta, or it'll be very difficult. Good brahmacharis make good grihastas, make good vanaprasthas, make good sannyasis. So everything has to start. Brahmacharis are actually the foundation. So it's so important. I'm very happy to see so many young men are being trained to become brahmacharis. Some will take the vow for life. Very good. And others, you'll move on to the next ashram. Most of us moved on to the next ashram. So it's a very, very wonderful, powerful movement that Srila Prabhupada has left us. All we have to do is maintain it. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.